It's back to the top 50 list because it needs populating. And today I've got two games which you could be forgiven for suggesting were the same game. The first one is X-Men. It's not very bright, that pen, is it? I need to get a better whiteboard pen. The second one is Rush. Now, they're both produced by the same pinball manufacturer. It was Stern, and they're both designed by the same guy, which is John Borg. So you would think possibly, in terms of the top 50 list, both of those games would sit directly above one another. Well, you'd be wrong, because I like one of these games far more than I like the other, although I haven't decided where on the list it's going to go. If you're new to this series, then I probably suggest going back and watching episode 1. It will all make a lot more sense if you do. I'll just tell you briefly, though, just in case you can't be bothered and you're only really here because you're interested in either Rush or X-Men, then there is one qualifying criteria to get onto that top 50 board, and that is the pinball machine has to have lived in this house, and that means either in this games room here or in the main house at some point. And the reason I do that is because I don't believe it's fair to compare a machine that you might have played in a noisy arcade on location with one where you can actually learn the rules in a home environment. That is the only qualifying criteria. Apart from that, it's sort of my own personal version of the Pinside Top 100. Now, I know there are not 50 pinball machines on there, but hopefully at some point there will be. Now, let me tell you the slight nuanced differences between this league table and the one on Pinside. So, Pinside will rank and rate machines for a number of criteria, and it has to do that because what it has to give you is an average of what everybody thinks. I'm just here to please me. And look, I understand everybody has totally different tastes. Well, not just pinball machines. Pinball machines are just the same as music, food, or anything else. We all think a little bit differently. So I'm sure there'll be games on there that you think should be higher and games on there you think should be lower. But Pinside looks at things like animation artwork, audio quality, back glass artwork, fun, gameplay, game rules, lighting, music, playfield artwork, sound and speech. A lot of these things I don't really factor in to what I perceive to be important for me at a pinball machine. That's why here at Flipperama HQ and our top 50, I'm looking at things like, is the game fun? Is it addictive? That's a really big thing for me. Is it humorous? I do love a humorous call-out in a game, and we've all got our favourites, haven't we? Has it got charm and has it got personality? Basically, does the pinball machine have character? I think if you were to try and explain that term to somebody that doesn't like pinball, they would probably say, how can any pinball machine have character? It's an inanimate object, but we know pinball machines got a lot of character, right? How do I like the toys and the mechanisms? Or does it actually have any? Some games don't have any. Is it approachable? And well, by that I mean, is it approachable? Does it lure you in? Maybe if you're not a pinball player, is it so difficult that you're just immediately put off because it's so complicated? Maybe it just looks unfriendly. Maybe it's The Walking Dead and the thing just scares you. What are the shots like? What are the positions of those shots? I often have this saying, the shot is positioned exactly where it should be. That's right for me. Just naturally, I might hit shots of a flipper slightly differently to how you do. You probably do it better than me, though. What are the rules in the game? For me, they can be different to a lot of people. I like a simple rule set. I've already discussed it. I like the theme to explain the rules. I don't mind having a quick glance at the apron card, but if I've got to download a PDF to work out and I need a master's degree to work out exactly what's going on in the game, I'm probably not going to like it, and it's probably not going to rank too highly on that list. Which feeds into the other criteria, which is, does it have achievable goals? And I think they're really quite important, actually. I mean, some games are quite good. Well, I would use Godzilla as an example. Godzilla Does it have complicated rules? Yes, it does, but they're explained in a really good way. But it also has some achievable goals. You can get that multi-ball by locking the ball in the building quite easily, can't you? There's a number of things you can do. You can get Mecha Godzilla multi-ball going quite easily. The UFO on the pop bumper. There's a lot of things going on in that game which just does have achievable goals, which will feed back and give you a reward early on in the game, which will keep you going. And talking about rewards, is the game rewarding or is it frustrating? We all like a rewarding game. Nobody likes a frustrating game. Well, maybe some of you do. I certainly don't. And one of the final criteria will be, did I regret the game leaving? Once it left this house, did I find myself crying and yearning and pining for the return of that game? Because I do think ultimately, sometimes you let a game go and you just don't miss it. And I think that probably tells you how much you really liked that game. Finally, where I decide where it will go in the list, I factor in that maybe I don't have any pinball machines and somebody is going to lend me a game for a year, because that just takes money out of the equation. Because otherwise, let's be fair, it would just, whatever that James Bond 60th edition thing is, that would just be top of the list, right? Then that's really not going to be reflective on how good or bad a game is. So I take money out of the equation and just say, if someone were to lend me a game for a year, would it be this one or this one? And that's how I work out how high in the list it goes. Okay, I mean, so this is a bit of an odd one, really. Bearing in mind we've got X-Men and we've got Rush. Basically, you have the same layout. And there are some nuance, some minor differences between the two. But the layout is the same. And I know I'm skipping down here and just going straight to shots. But I really enjoy the shots on these games. I really do. I think it's probably Borg's... Probably my favourite layout that Borg has done. Although I did really enjoy Aerosmith. We'll get to that. Aerosmith's going to go on the list at one point. I've got to say, overall, John Borg's probably not my favourite designer. Probably be Poppadook and Gomez would be my favourites. But I've got to say, as the longer I've been in pinball, the more I found myself warming to some of them. I think I was probably put off because of The Walking Dead, which I really struggled with. For reasons I'll get into when I do the Walking Dead video and put that up on the list. But I think I've got to separate X-Men from Rush almost immediately. So there is an orbit shot which goes from right to left and goes all the way round. On Rush, I would find it would drain straight down the middle. On X-Men, it would sort of come out the pop bumpers and it would go into one of the scoops, and that sort of worked for me. So I think that orbit shot was a bit more enjoyable in X-Men. Now, I should probably say that with Rush, I had the Pro version. I expected nothing from Rush at all, and I mean absolutely nothing. And I hadn't heard of the band. And I don't know how I hadn't heard of the band, but as I understand it, Canadian band, classic rock band, which is really weird, because if you were to look around this man cave here, my favourite band are The Who, and I love a lot of the old classic rock stuff. I love Free, Bad Company. I don't mean Spencer's Bad Company. I mean, I love the band Bad Company, but he is also very, very bad company. I like Deep Purple. I like a lot of this old stuff. Led Zeppelin. A lot of this stuff is really, really good to me. So I thought, how did I manage to miss Rush? But I did. So I didn't know anything about them at all. And I didn't find that the look of the game was particularly appealing. However, once I started playing it, and once the music started playing, I actually started to enjoy the music. It became a little bit catchy. And I really found myself enjoying the shots. Now, I should probably tell you, for the purposes of this video, that I had X-Men after I had Rush. So Rush was the first game I had here. And I don't know why I didn't enjoy X-Men quite as much. I don't know what it was about it. I think maybe X-Men took itself a little bit too seriously. Maybe I got excited because X-Men had Deadpool on it, and well, as you can see, I generally think anything with Deadpool on is pretty damn cool. Well, anything apart from the X-Men pinball machine, that is. They didn't deserve to have Deadpool on there, if you ask me. Let me just get through to the. Let's go through the criteria, and we'll go through both games. So we'll go with X-Men, and we'll go with Rush. I'll give you my answers for both, and then we'll go over to the board and see where they sit. So, fun. Now, as I say, this is going to sound really odd because the layout is more or less the same on both of them. Basically, I found Rush fun, but I didn't find X-Men fun. And I don't know why. Maybe it is just this Marvel thing. Maybe because I haven't grown up with the comics and I haven't watched the films, with the exception of Deadpool, and maybe the first Hellboy film. But I don't even know if that's Marvel. I don't know. This is not really a theme I'm into, really. And I only really like Deadpool because the humour and it's such great films, aren't they? Is it addictive? Are the games addictive? Again, I found Rush pretty damn addictive. Certainly some of the combos you could do on the game, some of the flow, particularly off the upper flipper shot, was really, really good. I found it addictive. I wanted to play again and again. For some reason, with X-Men, I would have one, I'd have two games, and then I'd just go and I would play something else. I think there was a point when X-Men was here, and there were a number of other games here. X-Men wasn't really getting played, but there were other games here as well. Has it got humour? No, neither pinball machine has humour, which takes it onto the charm and personality. X-Men, as I say, takes itself very, very seriously. I guess one of the things I love about Deadpool is it's not serious. He's making fun of himself. He's making fun of you. He's making fun of the other characters, be it Sabretooth or Mystique or whoever it might be. This does none of that. It's a very, very serious business, and sort of playing the game and defeating some of the characters, defeating Juggernaut or whoever it may be, is a serious business in X-Men. And I don't know. I think it's quite hard. I think it might just be the theme. See, because I'm completely contradictory, aren't I? I'm being hypocritical because actually I'm fine if Star Wars is serious, but not so much if the X-Men is. So maybe it's just because I lack a love for the theme, which is why theme becomes important. However, I had no love for Rush, but it was more palatable. Did it have charm and personality? Possibly a little bit more, but it might have been for the music, because it started to grow on me. They've got some catchy tunes. I don't know. Actually, after Rush had left, I found myself on a couple of occasions, because Google and phones are quite clever, aren't they? You know, you open up your phone and your phone's listening to you. So your phone will be listening to you. And I think that my phone knew that I'd been listening to Rush. So it started, YouTube started offering up Rush songs, and I carried on listening to it. It's done its job, really, in that sense, hasn't it? Toys and mechanisms. Right, this is where X-Men sort of is an amazing game. I remember when it was here, I was saying, they just don't make them like this anymore. It was rock solid. The whole thing felt solid. There were magnets on it. There were ball locks. It wasn't just like a little flat piece of 2D plastic on there. They were massive. I don't even... Is his name Magneto? Magnet Man. Magnet Man was on there. But a real big sort of sculpture of him. I think Wolverine was on there. Is it Wolverine or Saber? The guy with the claws. The guy with the claws was on there. Wolfman. That's something different. That's a different game entirely, isn't it? I was very impressed with X-Men. A lot of game for your money on there. An awful lot of game. But it seems like those older Stern games, they were packed. I remember the first time I played 24. I was amazed by how much was on it. Big Buck Hunter, I'm not sure if these are all from the same era. And I know they're maybe not the best games in the world, and they're not the best titles. But they just seem to be made really, really solidly. And a lot had gone into them. Sopranos is another great example, but let's be fair, Sopranos is in a slightly different league to what we're discussing here. Approachable. How approachable were the games? Oh, sorry, I probably should have said Rush. Toys and mechanisms. It had a little time machine thing in it. It was a bit like the ring shot in Lord of the Rings, but not as good. How could it be? It was okay. It was okay. Maybe I guess maybe the premium and the limited edition had a little bit more to them, but it certainly felt that X-Men was a lot more packed than Rush. How approachable they both were. I think X-Men is approachable because sort of it looks quite cool, and if you're into that sort of thing, you'll go and put a coin into it and play it if you was on location. I'm not sure how many times you'd play it afterwards because I don't feel it's intuitive. The rules aren't intuitive on it. I'm not sure what I'm meant to be doing. Just to take you back to that video that I did, I probably released a week or two ago when I spoke about the importance of theme explaining the rules. Can I tell you the story of a pinball machine? And I always go to Attack from Mars. You know, Martians in flying saucers are attacking numerous countries on Earth. You have to go and defeat and blow up the flying saucer in order to win the game in the various cities. Just me telling you the story explains the rules, and then the inserts and the call-outs all help. It wasn't immediately evident what I had to do with either X-Men or Rush. I didn't really get it with Rush. There was a little bit on the left-hand side, I think, where there was a keyboard or some drums or something like that, but then there was planets and a time machine. I didn't know what this had to do with a band. Subsequently found out that it had something to do with their albums, which, as I say, was good music, but I wouldn't say they were intuitive. Reasonably approachable. I thought they were approachable machines, and I have to say, with Rush, I wanted to play more, but that's because the shots were so good, and that's what we're going to get to in a second. Well, right now, the shots and the position of the shots. I was surprised with Rush. It was a really surprising game. I think there's a difference maybe sometimes to that thing that Keith Elwin says, the kinetic feedback of a game. And I think that's maybe something, you know, a ball hitting a bash toy, which sort of feeds back in some way to the feel of the machine. I think that's one thing. I think that's sort of separate from the satisfaction of a shot. Sometimes a shot just feels damn satisfying. The katana ramp on Deadpool would be a great example. Is there any kinetic feedback? I don't think so. Oh, but it feels good, right? It just feels satisfying. There was something very satisfying about the shots on both of these games. It has to be said. But I don't know why. There must be a minor difference somewhere, because I felt of the upper flipper, Rush just had the edge on the shots. And for some reason, it had a little bit more flow to it, apart from that drain. As I say, right to left through the pop bumpers. It was quite bizarre, actually, because you've got a similar shot, I know, on a lot of games, but the same shot was also on Aerosmith. Right orbit, pop bumpers on the left, but it didn't tend to drain after it had gone through the pop bumpers. But it would have to sail straight down the middle for it to happen on Rush, but it seemed to happen quite a lot. If you haven't seen it, you don't know what I mean. There is if you search, you go on this channel, you can put in the search bar, just search on this channel, put Rush in there, and you'll see what I mean. I did a video when I had it here. So the shots and the positions, I think, really good on both games. I was very happy. I think it's a good playfield layout design from John Borg on this one, certainly. The rules, look, they were tough. They were tough. It's not just I didn't learn them. I didn't feel that I wanted to, and I think that's what theme has to make you do as well. If you feel that learning the rules is a chore and it's a struggle and it's hard work, you tend not to learn them. I've got Legends of Valhalla, just probably see it better there. Legends of Valhalla is here at the moment. And I've got to say, if any of the three people that contacted me telling me the rules and the story and how to play Legends of Valhalla are watching this, I must thank you very much. I did thank you in the comments, but I think it's a very nice thing for you to do, to listen to my video and then say, look, hey dude, this is how you play this game. And somebody certainly wrote back on that and said it's painful watching you play this game, bearing in mind you don't know the rules. And I do apologise. But they'd listened to my video to such an extent, said, let me tell you the story of what you're meant to be doing. And he basically said, right, you're a Viking, this is what you need to be doing. And just almost immediately, he explained, said, this is how you're going to collect your weapons. You're going to hit that left ramp, and then a weapon become available. Your next shot, you collect it. And it was explained to me in such a way that almost immediately I started enjoying the game more. I never felt I had that with either of these games, so maybe if that had been explained to me, I would have invested more time and effort into learning the rules. Ultimately, I didn't. Do they have achievable goals? I think so. I think I know X-Men more, but I think that's because I had a very good player. Yen came over and played X-Men, and I watched him play it, and I think he might even got the top score when he was here. And so I was able to see that they were achievable for him anyway. But I sort of learned a little bit more. But I find with a lot of these superhero ones like Avengers Infinity Quest, X-Men, Venom that was here a couple of weeks ago, too many characters, just too many. And I think there's just too many things to do, really. For me, I don't like a game that's hugely has huge depth on it. Rewarding or frustrating? I think they were. Yeah, I look. Rush could be frustrating when it would drain straight down the middle. There's one thing I hate on a pinball machine. It's when I execute a shot perfectly and I still lose the ball. And I find that a frustrating thing. Attack from Mars can do that. It's one of my favourite games. It's at top of the list at the moment. On Attack from Mars, you have to hit the 3 targets in order for the whatever it is, the thing to drop down, the barrier to drop down, so as you can hit the flying saucer. Well, sometimes you hit one of those 3 targets, it goes straight down the middle. You think, hey, look, if I'd have missed it, I wouldn't have minded. It's a minor gripe. But I think when I found myself hitting the orbit on Rush and then shaking the machine to make sure it hit the pop bumpers just so as it didn't drain. And yeah, I mean, that could be frustrating. But the shots felt so rewarding. On both of these games, if you hit these shots well, they are really rewarding. And there's a lot to be said for both these games. Regret it leaving, which is the final one. The X-Men, no, I don't regret it leaving at all. I'm glad I had it here. I was glad I was able to experience it. I thank my mate John so much. It's one of many games he's sent down to me. He's a good friend of mine, and he's really looked after me in pinball terms, and I thank him for sending that down to me. But it was good. It was good to know that I don't, I've no desire to play that game again, quite frankly. Rush, I'm not sure I regret it leaving, but I'd like another go at it. You know, I'd like to learn more. I'd like to explore some more. It's one of those sleeper games, I think. You know, that they when Stern released it, it was probably released in between 2 far more glamorous titles. I can't remember what, but it seemed like the ugly sister, didn't it? The ugly duckling, whatever it is. You know what I mean. It seemed like the bridesmaid, let's put it that way. Seemed like the bridesmaid rather than the bride when it was released. But actually, I think long term, in terms of shots, it's pretty damn good. I think if you've got time to learn the code and you've got time to really invest some mental energy in it, I think there's a very, very good game there in Rush. Actually, and I'm very aware that I didn't get to fully explore it. But I think the thing is, I want to explore it some more. I think with X-Men, I'm aware that I didn't fully explore it, and that's fine. I've seen enough. The 25% of the game that I did see and got to play and got to experience didn't leave me wanting to discover more. I think with Rush, I played a little bit of it. I had it here for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. And yeah, I certainly wanted some more. I'd like to have it back again. Certainly play it again and learn some more about it. Anyway, that's enough chat from me. Let's get over to that board now and let's find out where they're going to sit on the leaderboard. So here we have it. It is X-Men and it is Rush. Now, let me just get rid of Rush for the moment. Just down there. It's not staying there. X-Men. It's not going to be a surprise to anybody that's just listened for the past 20 or so minutes that this is going to go pretty low down. However, it's not going bottom, but it's going to have to go very, very low. So it's a case of, if somebody was going to lend me a game for a year, X-Men or Jackpot, I would take X-Men. However, if you were going to offer me X-Men or Popeye, I have to say I would take Popeye, which means X-Men is going to go all the way down here. And that may sound foolish, but Popeye was my first ever game. And what I do know is if Popeye was here, I love the loops. The orbits on Popeye are really, really good. I can't think I really love anything too much about X-Men. I think the point of the matter is, when it was here, I stopped playing it. When Popeye was here, I never stopped playing it, and my kids really enjoyed Popeye as well. So I think if I was going to have one game here, it would be Popeye. And then certainly, I know I've made the right decision for me. As I say, it's just my personal list, because there's no way that I would have X-Men before Jurassic Park Home Edition or Ghostbusters or Judge Dredd. I mean, it just wouldn't. So something's got to live down near the bottom, and it's going to be X-Men. Rush is different. It feels different. It's just a different vibe to this game, which I really enjoyed. And actually, just moving up the list, I would have Rush before I had Jurassic Park. If you were to offer me a Ghostbusters or Rush, I'd take the Rush. I really would. I'd take it before Judge Dredd as well, actually. Now we're getting into something that's really, really interesting, because, you know, Rush or Avengers Infinity Quest, I've discussed Avengers Infinity Quest to death on this channel. Unless you've just joined and subscribed to the channel for the first time, if you have, welcome, by the way. If you haven't, you'll know I think Avengers Infinity Quest has unrivaled shots. It really is magnificent, but I don't enjoy the game particularly because it's overly complicated. Much like X-Men, it takes itself far too seriously, too many characters, too complicated. I've got to tell you, I would pick Rush above Avengers Infinity Quest. Now we get to a real decision, because Medieval Madness is a classic, but you know what? It feels like everybody else's classic rather than mine. It's like Spencer said, it's like a comfy slipper, really. I find it can get boring. I've got to say, for me, Medieval Madness can get boring. However, there's still a lot to it, and I think if I had Rush or Medieval Madness in the house, I'm not sure what I'd be playing more. I suspect Rush would push it very, very close, but when I start to look above it, I'd take World Cup Soccer before Rush, I'd take Sopranos before Rush, so it can't be up the top end. So it's got to go here somewhere, and I think it would be wrong of me to put it anywhere other than below Medieval Madness. But it's beating some decent pinball machines there, Rush, and I do think it's a little bit under the radar. It's a little bit underrated. Now, at some point, I will do a review of the current positions of everything, and this is subject to change. I may change my mind. This is my list after all. I may well swap it around. But at the moment, we've got Attack from Mars, Big Lebowski, Fishtails, Elvira's House of Horrors, Foo Fighters, Champion Pub, Dolly Parton, Sopranos, World Cup Soccer, Medieval Madness, Rush, Avengers Infinity Quest, Judge Dredd, Ghostbusters, Jurassic Park, Popeye, X-Men, Jackpot. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, just to explain, I haven't quite had 50 pinball machines through the house yet, but I've had over 40, and I've got to thank my friends, the channel sponsor, Pinball Heaven, and anybody and everyone that's allowed me to get pinball machines in here, to try them out, to test them out, which is great for me, because I love playing pinball. I just love pinball, and I get to enjoy playing them, and it allows me to do these videos, which hopefully you guys enjoy watching as well. I certainly really love doing this channel. So there you have it. There you have it. I do feel a bit guilty when I do put games lower down, but there you go. So yeah, X-Men, for me, where it deserves to be. Rush. There will be a lot of other games that I've already had through this house. As I put them up, they will go below Rush. They really will. But I'm telling you now, we're missing some big hitters. I haven't done Deadpool yet. I haven't done Godzilla. I haven't done Batman 66 either. So there are some... I haven't done Jurassic Park, which is I've had Jurassic Park twice. There's some big hitters to go onto this board. And I also haven't done Lord of the Rings. So there's some pretty big titles which are going to go quite high up on this game. Anyway, as always, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to assume if you're watching this, you're probably subscribed anyway. If you just make sure you're subscribed, there's a little bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. If you click that as well, it'll make sure you get a notification each time I upload. If you want to do me a really massive favour, you can share this video on your social media. I'd really appreciate it, and I will catch you next time.